Most of us have heard the term ETF and might have also heard that investing in ETF has less risk as compared to investing in an individual stock. And not only that, ETF provides decent returns over the longer periods of time. So if you want to learn more about what exactly an ETF is and how to pick one that is best for you, then continue watching this video. Hi everyone, I am Ankit and welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, click that subscribe button and join the community where we share and learn about real estate investments, financial independence and life of an expat in Germany. So what is an ETF? In layman's word, ETF or exchange traded funds is a bucket that contains multiple stocks or bonds or REITs or commodities. Basically, one ETF represents hundreds or thousands of securities. And when you buy a single ETF, you are actually buying hundreds of securities that ETF basket contains. This is also one of the main reasons why investing in single ETF is considered safer than investing in a single stock. So the keyword here is diversified portfolio. Because ETFs contain so many securities, they are considered diverse, spreading the risk across multiple companies or industries or even countries. An ETF got its name exchange traded funds since it's traded on an exchange just like any other stock or security. So you can buy and sell an ETF during trading hours like you buy and sell a stock. Hence, from trading point of view, ETFs are same as a stock. Well, now we understand what ETFs are. Let's check how to pick an ETF. But before we invest our time and energy in understanding how to choose an ETF, let's first see why one should invest in an ETF. I've explained the reason for the same in this video, so check it out. For the sake of this video, just trust me that it's worth having ETFs as part of one's portfolio, and hence it also makes sense to understand how to choose one. So let's start. There are thousands of ETFs out there, and in order to filter 2 or 3 ETFs out of them, we will use top-down approach. So in this approach, first we will choose our asset class, that is whether we want to invest in stocks or REITs or bonds or commodities. In this video, as an example, I am picking stocks as our asset class. Next, we have to decide whether we want to invest in ETF that tracks an index or not. If we decide on an ETF that tracks an index, then which index we want to track? Here are some quick tips on picking an index or shortlisting ETFs further. You can pick an index by either googling popular indices like S&P 500, FTSE, etc. or by in which region you want to invest. For example, you want to invest in Germany or Europe or USA. So look for indices that tracks the stocks in those countries or regions. You can also look for an index or ETF based on the size of the company. So for example, index or ETF that tracks only large corporations, or an index that tracks only mid or small companies. There is one more way you can choose an ETF, that is based on the specific industry you are interested in. You can even combine these criteria to shortlist an ETF. For example, if I want to invest in large tech companies of Germany, then TechDAX index might be worth considering. I would also like to mention here that check the number of equities that index tracks. More equities it tracks, better it is, considering diversification and risk spread. In this example, I want to invest in all the stocks worth owning in the world. So one of the popular index that captures large and mid-cap companies across 23 developed markets is MSCI World. As you can see here, now we have reduced the number of ETFs to 189 only. Now comes the fun part. Now all these 189 ETFs tracks equities or stocks of the world that are worth owning. So you might say invest in any of them as they should provide approximately similar returns. Well, technically, if 2 ETFs tracking the same index, they should provide similar returns. But then what makes them different? Well, these 10 factors differentiates one ETF from another. First factor is the size of the ETF. Bigger is better here. Larger ETFs can exploit economies of scale to lower their cost and are less liable to liquidation. You must be wondering what happens when an ETF liquidates. It's not that bad as liquidation of a company. Usually when an ETF is not profitable for the ETF issuing company, then they decide to shut it down or liquidate it. In simple words, liquidation here means selling of the underlying assets of the ETF. So you will get your money back based on the net asset value of your ETF shares at the time of sale. For the ones who don't know what net asset value of an ETF means, net asset value of an ETF represents the value of all the securities held by that ETF, such as shares or bonds and cash, minus any liabilities such as total expense ratio, which you will understand later in this video, and then divided by the number of shares outstanding to get the net asset value per share. So coming back, liquidation of ETF is a hassle and you may have to pay taxes on your capital gains, if any, by selling the ETF. so it's better to avoid it. So in our filter, let's pick the size to be more than $500 million. Usually ETFs larger than 100 million are safe, but I prefer the largest of all. Therefore, in our example, largest ETF that tracks MSCI World is iShares Core MSCI World ETF. Second factor that I consider while looking for an ETF is the fund's age. Again, older the better. Why I said so? As the older your ETF is, better you can analyze its past performance. Yes, I know that does not guarantee that it will perform similarly in future also. However, I trust an ETF with good past records than an ETF with no records. So any ETF older than 5 years works for me. As we can see, iShares Core MSCI is more than 10 years old, therefore qualifies this factor also. Now before I go to the next factor, I want to share with you one of the most important things. It is the power of hitting that like button. It makes me and YouTube happy, so try it. Okay, coming back, next factor is the total expense ratio or TER. You must have seen or heard this term a lot in the ETF world. It is the annual cost that you pay to the ETF issuing company to manage the funds. Higher this cost is, more of your hard-earned money is going into the pockets of your asset managers, which can in long term eat up a lot of your profits. So try to find an ETF with lower TER. Please note, total expense ratio does not include your transaction fees of buying and selling an ETF or taxes. It only includes the administrative, legal, operational and marketing costs incurred by the ETF's management. There is no magic number that you can use for TER. Just compare the total expense ratio of the similar ETFs and prefer the ones with the lower total expense ratio. So in our example, if we sort the table based on total expense ratio, then we can see Lexer Core MSCI has the lowest total expense ratio. Of course, it's not the only factor to be considered, which we will also see in this video. Now, the factor that I find better than total expense ratio is the tracking difference. As an ETF tracks an index, therefore, their return should ideally be same as that of an index. However, that is not the case, as ETFs must cover the transaction charges, taxes, regulatory fees, and a long list of other expenses. On the other hand, indices are virtual and have to pay no such costs. Because of these extra costs, there is a gap between the performance of an ETF and the index that it tracks. This gap is called tracking difference. Lower the tracking difference is, better it is. Some ETFs even have negative tracking difference, which means they outperform the index they are tracking. One can use this website to see the tracking difference of an ETF. So as per our example, let's check the tracking difference of the ETFs that track MSCI World Index. So these are the ETFs that have negative tracking difference based on last 5 years of data. Well, now we have 8 ETFs left to choose from. Next factor to consider while picking an ETF is how your ETF is replicating the index it is tracking. Or in other words, ETF's replication method. There are 3 main replication methods that ETFs uses. First is the full physical replication, which means an ETF will hold the same securities as the index in the exact same proportion. This method, however, fails when underlying assets of ETF are illiquid or an ETF tracks a large index. Why? Because it's expensive and difficult, which lead to the second type of replication method, that is sampling. Under this method, only most important or liquid securities are purchased because these securities usually have the greatest influence on the index's performance. This way, ETF manager saves the trading and management costs, as they don't have to buy illiquid securities or securities that don't have much impact on the overall performance of the index. And last replication method is synthetic replication. Under this method, an ETF tracks an index using a total return swap. Well, I will not go into the detail of what is a swap and how it works. I will explain it in detail in my next video. So in layman's words, a swap ETF basically issues new ETF shares that we as investors can buy for cash. Then the ETF providers give that cash to another organization, which is called swap counterparty. Now, the swap counterparty buys securities of their choice using that cash and keep those securities as collateral to the ETF provider. Well, this is the flow of cash from investors like us to the swap counterparty. Now, the swap counterparty agrees to pay the ETF issuer the returns of the index which the ETF is tracking or based on. And in return, swap counterparty receives the gains from the securities it bought from the cash. Please note, the securities that the swap counterparty buys may or may not be same as that of the index that ETF is tracking. So the two parties are basically swapping the gains. ETFs get paid an amount equivalent to the return of the index it is tracking by the swap counterparty, and the swap counterparty gets the gains returned by the securities it bought. So synthetic ETFs have less total expense ratio. However, this comes at a cost of risk that the swap counterparty may default. So if swap counterparty is unable to pay the returns of an index, that means it has defaulted, and that's the risk that comes with the synthetic ETF. Well, how this risk is minimized, what are the different types of swap ETF, I will discuss all of it in my other video, so keep tuned to my channel. In other words, it's like taking a mortgage from bank. Banks gives us cash and keeps the property as collateral. We buy the property and get rent as income from it and pay bank the mortgage interest. I personally prefer physical or sampling ETFs over synthetic if possible. So in this example, iShare MSCI World ETF is a sampling ETF, hence satisfies this factor also. Next factor to consider during selecting an ETF is how that ETF is distributing the income from interest or dividends. So there are two types of ETFs based on their income treatment: distributing ETFs and accumulating ETFs. Distributing ETFs pays the income generated from interest or dividend to its investors, that is us. On the other hand, accumulating ETFs reinvest that income to buy you more shares of the ETFs without any transaction fee. So not only you save transaction charges, but also enjoy the benefits of eighth wonder of the world, that is compounding. Out of these two types of ETFs, I personally prefer accumulating type because of the compound effect in the long run. However, if I want some extra cash coming every month, then I will opt for the distributing type. Therefore, in this example, I will take accumulating type of iShare MSCI World ETF. You can also choose the distributing type of iShare MSCI World ETF. Lastly, as I mentioned in my previous video also, if you are buying an ETF in Europe, then make sure it's a UCITS ETF. UCITS are a set of regulations laid down by European Union to safeguard investors' interests. So based on all the above factors, if I want to invest in all the stocks worth owning in the world, I will choose between iShare and Xtrackers MSCI World ETFs. As all other parameters are same for both iShare and Xtrackers, I prefer iShare as the assets under its management are larger than that of Xtrackers. Well, I hope after watching this video you now know more about ETFs and will feel more confident and informed while buying an ETF. There are many brokers in Germany that provide ETF saving plan, but only you can hit the like button to show your support, so please do that as it helps others to find this video on YouTube. Well, you can simply open an account with the broker and start a savings plan. Under this saving plan, you fix an amount that will be deducted every month automatically from your account, and equivalent amount of ETFs or stocks will be bought. And yes, they will buy fragments of ETFs or stocks, which is otherwise not possible. So saving plans are worth looking into if you haven't yet. I am also currently doing some research on the online brokers that offer cheap or free ETF saving plans so that I can also start one for myself. So in case you know or already using a broker for an ETF saving plan, please let me know in the comments down below. Also, it would be nice if you can mention in the comments which brokers you are using right now for trading stocks and ETFs. Well, thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.